Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Logical Nonsense Podcast. Today we have Mr. Kaden Walsh on, an avid Celtics fan, finally seeing his team after a 5-year stretch get that ring. It's been a long journey with Tatum and Brown. They've gotten close. They've met the Warriors. They've met the Miami Heat a few times. They finally stuck it out. They finally got it done. Kaden, how does it feel, man?
It feels incredible. It feels more like a relief than a celebration almost
Yeah,
because they've been so close so many times, and there's just
yeah.
been the LeBrons of the world, the Steph Currys, just the one player that stops them,
Yeah.
and they finally put it all together. They had the best team. They
Yep.
executed. Finally, a little bit of killer instinct out of them, and they got it done. And number 18 never sounded so good.
Absolutely. How do you what do you think this win, I know you said it was a relief for you. What do you think this win means for the Celtics, the Boston Celtics fans? Because they haven't won one since what, 2008?
Yeah, yeah.
So what do
8
you
was
think
the
that
last
feel?
one. I know it's obviously relieving for them, but they put so much into it. They built through the draft. They didn't, blow it up when it didn't work out the first couple of years.
Yeah.
They stayed with it. They got their pieces. They got their guys. It could have been easy to get rid of Brown or something after like the
Yeah.
22 finals when he didn't have a good showing. But Brad Stevens is a great GM.
Yeah.
Stuck with it, and now it's could be potential dynasty. But
Yep.
they have all these guys unlocked for the next couple of years, and
Yeah.
it's finally like it feels like it's their turn. Finally, they stepped up. They got over the hump, which I think is the hardest part for them. And now it's just go time.
Definitely. I really liked what you said there. A lot of teams would and a trend that we've seen is a lot of teams give up. And this is a great example of a team not giving up on what their core is and just sticking with it. They believed in Jaylen Brown. They believed in Jayson Tatum. They didn't make it last year. And a lot of people questioned, why do you re-sign Jaylen Brown, right? Like a lot of people, oh, he's going to get traded, all these rumors, right? But then they just make a statement and extend him on this huge deal, which I think was just like,
Yeah.
fuck you guys. We believe in
Mm-hmm.
this team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Brad Stevens, he went out and he made some other trades, right? Like he got rid of Grant Williams, he got rid of Marcus Smart, but then he got guys like Drew Holiday, he got guys like Kristaps Porzingis, um, Derek White a few years back, right? So like he's been building pieces, and Brad Stevens, I think, you know, we're gonna get to multiple pieces within this team, obviously, and what this creation was, but Brad Stevens, we got to give this man a lot of credit because he believed in this core of this team between Brown and Tatum, and he really just surrounded them with a team that was winning formula. So let's go into a debate that is surrounding the internet. You look at any comment section right now, a lot of people are commenting cakewalk. How do you feel about this? Because I feel like there's sides to it. Obviously, the Celtics, I think they lost. What was it? Was it 3 or 4 games? I think
Three in the
3
playoffs.
games. Yeah,
Yep.
they lost 3 games total. So it's definitely one of those things where it's like, were they really just that dominant, or was it more so that there wasn't competition?
I think you can only play who's in front of you is the first big piece, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, obviously no one was healthy in the East. There's
Yep.
nothing we could do about it. Like, but I think a lot of people forget, just how dominant of a regular season team the Celtics were.
True.
64 and 18, they handled what they needed to. We didn't even have Porzingis for 90% of the playoffs as well.
True.
And yep, you can only do what you can do. The Heat, I think we beat them regardless if Jimmy plays, just based on matchups. The Cavs, we beat them when Donovan Mitchell was healthy for a couple games. Unfortunately, he goes
Yeah.
out. Same with Halliburton. Like we beat the player, or they beat the teams they needed to when they were healthy, and then they also beat them with injuries. I think it's definitely a lot more competitive if the Knicks are fully healthy, if the Bucks are fully healthy. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, you can only play who's in front of you. And then they play the Mavs. Mavs were fully healthy, and they're the best team out of the West, and they've won 4-1. So I understand the cakewalk perspective, but I don't say it's dominating, but I just think they're the better team throughout
Yeah.
through the roster, through performance, and like I
Definitely.
say, you can only play who's in front of you.
It's a great point. I mean, it's definitely been going back and forth, and to your point, I think they still beat the Heat if Jimmy's on that team, and I still think they beat the Cavs. I think the biggest question for me is I think they go and they have a longer series if the Bucks are healthy, because I do think the Bucks would make it to conference finals, and even before the season ever started, right? That was a matchup we wanted to see, and I hope we see it next year. I think if we get to see that both teams healthy playing at their best, I think that is the series we are looking forward to on the East. The West side of things, it got kind of weird. I still am interested to see what a Nuggets Celtics series looks like. I think in terms of teams that I think would give the Celtics trouble, I think the Nuggets to me are the ones that I truly believe is, I don't want to say kryptonite, but have potential to be that team to knock them off or give them trouble. But to your point, they have been the best team all year long, and we have to give them that credit. It was, you know, cakewalk or not, I don't really think it was. I mean, I think you look at how competitive the West was, and you're gonna tell me that was easy? Like, whoever came out of there, they had to fight to get there. So, shout out to the Mavs. I think they proved themselves as a winning team in the West. And like you said, I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of just how the cards rolled out, and I don't think you should discredit their win just because of the way it rolled out. But I guess, I always give the Lakers shit about their
Mhm.
Mickey Mouse championship. Would you say that's on the same level?
I don't think it's that close, but I mean it's comparable, but I don't think it's like that
Yeah,
easy of a
I
run
also
because
think
I
it's
don't think the
different
Lakers are as
situation.
dominant as the Celtics. And
No, not
also
even
like
close.
the Pacers bring them up. They shot damn near NBA records in the series against Celtics, shooting like 55% from the field.
Yeah,
They still got swept, but they were close games. But I don't know. Celtics had to do
yeah,
what they had to do. Like they play lockdown defense. I
yeah,
think a lot of teams don't do that. So like they don't really
yeah,
any matchup they had, they're going to be competitive and have probably a better shot. I would also love to see a Nuggets Celtics finals or even a Timberwolves Celtics finals because I
yeah,
think the Timberwolves play a lot faster, a lot more physical, they're a little
yeah.
more versatile than the Nuggets. I just think the Celtics matched up really well against the Mavericks
I
comparatively
do
to other
too.
West
I
teams.
really, really do. Because to your point, I think even the Timberwolves would have given them a great series. Because what I think happened with the Timberwolves, they just ran out of gas.
Mhm,
I mean, they really came back from that Nuggets series,
mhm.
and they took that series. No one expected to do that. I mean, Game 7, they were down 20,
Yeah.
and they won that game and moved on. So for them to win that series, go on, and then have to play the Mavs, who are, I don't want to say fresh, but they're hungry. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see either Timberwolves or Nuggets finals for sure. But shout out to Mavs. I think
Yeah.
this is Luka's first appearance, so
Mhm.
good for them. Good for Kyrie finally finding his role on a new team. So, do you think this is the start of a dynasty for the Celtics? I heard you say it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you think it's the start of the dynasty?
It's it's honestly a hard question to answer because every time a team wins the finals, like 21 bucks, you're like, oh, this team is loaded.
Mm,
They're gonna win it next year. They don't win it next year. The Nuggets won it last year. We're like, oh, they could be a dynasty. They look
yeah, true.
dominant. They come out this year, they lose to a Timberwolves team I didn't think they should have lost to. Honestly,
No, they
Jamal Murray
shouldn't.
played horrible that series. Porter Jr. did
Yep.
not play very well. So dynasty is hard to say like, oh yeah, like definite. Like they don't
Yeah.
feel as dominant as like the Warriors were in their dynasty, as good as
No,
the
yeah, I know what
Celtics
you're
were. But
saying. Yeah,
like when you watch the Warriors, you're like, oh fuck, they're gonna win every game. They went 16-1 in their championship
they
run.
don't pass that eye
Yeah,
test.
but they have all the pieces and they have
Mhm.
everyone under contract to do it.
Yeah,
They have everyone next year. They're running completely back, and then Jayson Tatum and Derek White will both get extensions, which they can do. So then they'll have everyone basically for 2 more years, is what they're
yeah,
looking like. And their core, Derek White, even though he's 30, looked like he just hit his prime this season. He
yeah. No
probably got
kidding.
another
Yeah,
season or two of greatness out of Drew
yeah.
Holiday. He looked incredible in the postseason, defensive menace.
Yep,
Brown's looking like he's hitting his prime. And
yep,
then Tatum just needs to develop that killer instinct like we talked about all year.
yep.
Like realizing that he's, 6'9" and bigger than anyone that can guard him and stop just
Yeah,
chucking up threes. But
He looks good in
Porzingis,
that final game.
he did. Like when he wants to, like
Yeah.
actually be physical.
No,
Like I mean, that's what I don't get. Like he's boxing out their center, getting boards over everyone, passing the ball well. I
yeah,
don't know. They have all the pieces. Kristaps as well. And like when he's healthy, they're at a different level. I think they
yeah,
could. They have the making of a team that can win 2 out of the next 4. It's just the dynasty word is just it's hard to be a dynasty, but I think
definitely.
they have the potential, probably the greatest chance at any NBA team in the next couple of years to run it back.
Yeah. Definitely, I think they have the greatest chance too. I think the biggest key for them in if they want to be a dynasty, it's always those guys they can kind of supplement or um, fill in their roster, right? Those other holes, right? Like so, like I think a guy that I don't want to say went under the radar, but definitely was a key player in times. Al Horford, right?
Mhm.
Like who are they gonna get to replace him?
Yeah.
Because I don't like he might retire. He just got in his ring. He might retire,
Yeah.
right? Who's that center who can be that guy who can hit that corner three
Mhm.
when you need them to and can play, you know, decent defense
Mhm.
down low, right? So like I think as long as they continue to find vet guys or even young guys who can fill in those types of roles, I think this team definitely has a chance to be a dynasty because their core is there. They've got Derek White. They've got Drew Holiday. Because they just re-signed Drew or not re-signed. They
Mhm.
extended his contract 4 years too.
Yeah.
So you got Drew, you got Brown, you got Tatum. Go pay Derek White now.
Mhm.
Keep him. He proved himself.
Yeah.
He is a dog, man. And I think, you keep finding guys like Pritchard, Hauser, right?
Mhm.
Like just keep finding those kind of guys and this team will be fine. The one thing that worries me about the word dynasty is just how competitive this league
Mhm.
is, right? We think about all the teams in the West, all the teams in the East that competed. A team that wasn't even in the conference finals that we talked about all year long and is extremely young, the Thunder, right? That's a team that we're not even talking about right now, but next year we could be talking about in the conference finals or even the finals, right? So we have them. We have the Timberwolves, right? Who
Mhm.
looks young guns, like they prove themselves as a serious contender. We got the Mavs, obviously, they just went to the finals. And then we've got the Nuggets. Those are 4 really, really good teams in the West. And then the East, you still have the Bucks. I think that they are the most scary
Mhm.
team to me on the East. Um, if the Sixers go out and they go get, another threat on their team, I think they could be a serious contender. The Knicks, they go and get more guys to supplement Brunson, they could be a contender. So it's a competitive league. So that's why the word dynasty scares me. And I also think,
Mhm.
to your point too, I don't think the Celtics don't pass that eye test offensively. Defensively, I think they are an extremely solid team. And I gotta give Joe Mazzulla credit because I've given him a lot of shit on this channel. He is he did a good job this postseason coaching. There were many games the Celtics could have lost,
Mhm.
especially against that Pacers team, as you mentioned earlier, that they pulled through and they won. So I gotta give props to him. What do you think? What do you think of Joe Mazzulla?
Oh, dude, he's grown on me. At first,
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know how to call a timeout. He doesn't know how to make
yeah, facts.
adjustments. His subs are sketchy." But first year in the league last year, he's 30 something, 38 years
Yeah,
old, right? Last year, now he's the youngest coach to win an NBA Finals since like Bill Russell or whatever when he won it.
yeah,
So like to be under 40, he was in the same draft class as Kemba Walker. Like he's that
yeah.
young. Yeah, it's
Crazy.
just
Yeah,
crazy. Played for West Virginia, beat that crazy good Kentucky team back in the day. Like,
yeah,
and now he's out coaching. But I think it's honestly really like the way he's able to adjust this year,
yeah,
make coaching adjustments, good rotation, good use of timeouts. Having solid game plans going into games, building the connection with the players. I think is the coolest part. All these players are coming out now with all their
yeah,
stories, and so
yeah.
like I don't know, he's just a mentally tough coach. He knows what it takes to win now.
Yep.
He's fun. He connects well with the players, and I think he's a guy that you're going to want to keep around for a while.
Yeah, no, he's definitely grown on me too. Like I said, I was not on board with him. Like he
Mhm.
could not call a timeout to
Yeah.
save his life. And I don't know if Brad Stevens got in his ear. I don't know who got in his ear, but he finally figured out how to one call a timeout and two actually show he does have some good schemes on
Mhm.
defense and offense. So I gotta give the man credit. He's grown and learned, and it sounds like he has a really good relationship with players. And I think that's key. If you have a good relationship with your players and you can actually coach too, it's a pretty good formula. It's crazy how that works, huh? Speaking of coaches, though, quick segue.
Mhm.
JJ Redick gets hired today, right, by the Los Angeles Lakers. What do you think? This is
I
this is your rival, and
I
they go
know.
out and they get
It's
JJ Redick. What do you think?
it's I don't know how to feel honestly because I love JJ Redick like as a player, as his
Yeah,
podcast is awesome. I listen to it all the
yeah,
time. Like basketball intelligence is uncharted. Like he's
yeah,
so smart when it
yeah.
comes to that
He
stuff.
had to be. He had to be to
Yeah,
play.
I'm
Yeah,
just I'm just worried that he's becoming LeBron's little sidekick to run the team,
yeah,
which because they do the podcast
yep,
together. LeBron might try to use him. I think it's an upgrade from Ham a little bit. I don't want to discredit
yeah,
Darvin Ham at all, but because he's been around the league forever and he's going to go coach the Bucks again. But it's an interesting signing because they could have had Hurley potentially. Like they threw that bag and hardly offer him anything. But I know I just feel like a lot of teams didn't want to, or a lot of players. Sorry, a lot of coaches didn't want to coach the Lakers because of LeBron.
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, maybe they threw some offers out there to some guys that we didn't hear about, but a lot of people don't want to coach the Lakers with LeBron there. But Redick gets along well with them, so I understand the signing. I also don't know how I feel about NBA players becoming coaches a lot of times. Like we've
Yeah,
seen a lot of these guys come in and don't do very well
yeah,
transitioning from player to coach. So it'll be interesting. I think Redick can do it though. I think he has the intelligence to do it definitely.
yeah, I think if there's a player that, like, knows basketball, it's definitely him. Um, Really interesting point you bring up about the Lakers and people not wanting to coach them. I've been saying this for years. If you coach LeBron's team, you are his puppet. You're just a stand-in. You're not coaching. LeBron's telling you what to coach. Because you watch those huddles. I mean, he's basically the coach. He's basically telling them what to do. And that annoys me. Like, I understand LeBron is that guy. I understand, like, but go, you know, was Michael Jordan doing that with Phil Jackson? Was Kobe doing that with Phil Jackson? Fuck no. Right? And, like, I don't it's something about it that rubs me the wrong way, especially when you see a guy like Tyronn Lue still have success. It's like, let him coach, man.
Yeah,
Like, let him do his thing. Like, he knows basketball. Like, just because you are the best player in the league does not mean you have to coach this team.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting coaching decisions going on. Like the Pistons, if you didn't hear, they fired their
Yeah,
coach today.
yeah, Marty,
Yeah,
uh, right
why,
after, yeah,
bro? He still has 4 years left. 65 mil. That's 65 million you got to pay the guy now. No coach is coming into the Pistons last year and making him a winning team. Like you got to
yeah,
give the guy a couple years to rebuild, and it doesn't help you're getting the fifth pick every year. Like you're not getting the top end players, even though you're doing bad.
and I
Like
actually like him.
yeah, I
I
do too.
actually think he's a solid coach because, like, you look at what he did with the Suns,
Yeah, and
I thought he did fine. I mean,
they
I
did
don't
rough to
know.
start the year, but the last 20, 30 games, they were competitive and they were winning a lot more than they did to
Yeah,
start the year. And I think you got to give the guy a chance because you can't give him 1 year and rip him like that, especially for the Pistons. Like, yeah,
yeah,
nothing's going to be rebuilt if you're switching coaches every year.
yeah. I don't know. Like, that's the thing, like, I'm not even trying to have this full circle moment right now, but, like, that's the thing about the Celtics to me that makes it that much more special, right? Like, they're not changing. Like, they had to change because of, you
Yeah,
know,
good job, you may.
yeah.
Yep.
They had to change, but, like, I guarantee if they didn't have to, he'd still be the coach
Mhm.
right now
Yep.
because that's just who the Celtics are, and that's what I respect. Teams, NBA, NFL, any team that are changing their roster completely every single year, changing their coach every single year. It's like, what happened to having faith in your team until you seriously feel like you need to make a change?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just it's so frustrating to me when you don't even allow a coach
Yep.
to really understand the team
Mhm.
and have some sort of vision, right? Like, how are you supposed to have a vision of a coach and where this team is supposed to go if you only get to coach them for a year
Yep.
when they're shitty, by the
Mhm.
way? another interesting debate, something that's been talked about even probably more so than dynasty or cakewalk, is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown wins the Finals MVP. Heated debate. First, we'll start there. Do you think he deserved the Finals MVP?
Absolutely, I do. I think he was the best player. The first 3 games, undoubtedly, right? He played
Yeah,
defense well. He aggressive. He
yeah,
learned. I think the biggest thing about Jaylen Brown is he learned from that 2022 NBA Finals when he was
yeah,
turning it over, missing shots, forcing
yeah,
shots, and he got to his spots and he attacked the rim, and he did what he needed to do. He adapted, and he looked like just an insane player. He's getting rebounds, getting assists. He had some very mean dunks, and
yeah,
then especially games 3 and 5, I'm gonna pinpoint this: the way he played defense on Luka, his mentality was unmatched. It's
yeah,
like the only way he's gonna get the ball is if he gets it 90 feet away from the rim, and I'm
yeah.
picking him up full court. Like you're not passing it to him. I'm gonna make him tired. I'm gonna get him out of his spot. I'm gonna fight over every screen.
Yep.
And so I think the way Jaylen Brown played and held himself, it was definitely way better than Tatum did this playoff run. He hit that game winner against the Pacers. He played really good in that series too. I think he's just the most
Yeah.
consistent player. 20 points a game every game. It's felt like, where
Yep.
Tatum didn't shoot that well, felt inconsistent a lot of nights. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to look for the shooting percentage online, but it just felt like to me, yes, Tatum. Does he have technically the better averages? Sure. How many shots was Tatum putting up? Right? He is supposed to be that guy, right? Brown, on the other hand, in my opinion, much more efficient on both sides of the ball, was a defensive menace to your point. He shut down players when he wanted to. And I just felt like he looked and exerted the energy of this team. To me, he really took over. And really, besides that game 5, he was kind of the leader on that team, really. Like, in my opinion, he seemed like it, he looked like it, and I think he deserved it. He deserved recognition. He looked great all playoffs. I know it's a finals MVP, but he also just looked good all playoffs long. Like, he was just that consistent, steady guy that you could lean on for the Celtics. So I definitely think he deserved it over Tatum. I think there's a case for Tatum, especially with how he played in game 5, but people people are comparing this to Andre Iguodala winning it back in 2016. I don't
no,
agree with that at all because Andre Iguodala wasn't even the second best player on that team. Whereas Brown and Tatum, I think like do I think Brown or do I think Tatum has more talent? Yes. However, I think in terms of play, like it goes back and forth on who plays better. Like who the number 1 versus number 2 option. That it was never that way with Iguodala. So that's why I think that's a stupid comparison. What do you think of that
yeah,
comparison?
no, I agree too. Iguodala, I think, absolutely played out of his mind to win that.
Yeah.
And but Brown, like you said, like he just played his game, man. He picked it up a little bit more on defense because it's the playoffs.
Mhm.
He was just more efficient. But that's what Jaylen Brown does. He doesn't have to, peak just for the playoffs, just for the
Yeah.
finals. Like he just played really good, locked in, and he's been a couple years now. He's seen what he needs to adjust, and he's really hitting his prime, especially
Yeah.
this playoff run.
It just seems so much more smart, right?
Yeah.
Like when you talked about turnovers, like that just reminded me of all the times like we'd be like, "What are you doing?" Like he dribbled the ball off of his fucking foot, like I
Yeah.
swear 6 times a
Mhm.
game, right? And like we just didn't see that.
Nope.
He was just like that guy that like you could just rely on during the finals, which
Mhm.
was like finally nice. Like,
Yeah.
yes, Jaylen Brown has the ball instead of like, come on, don't fuck this up, right? Like it was nice, you know. So, um, is Jaylen Brown the star of the team now? Like, does this award change anything in terms of the team schematic?
Yeah. I'm gonna say no, just because I think Tatum is still a top 7 player in the league right now.
Yeah,
And I think Brown though definitely cemented himself like solid too, like right behind Tatum. They're close, but
yeah,
Tatum's still the guy. He's
yeah,
still a superstar. He
yeah,
deserves it. Just even if he had a bad shooting postseason, he's still a star. Like he boxes out, he gets rebounds. He has a ton of assists in the finals. Playmaker. He understands what he needs to win. The only thing that's missing for me for Tatum is still that killer instinct. the realization that you're stronger and bigger than anyone that's going to guard
Yeah,
you, and you can
facts,
get to the
dude.
rim every play. And
Facts.
every once in a while, it clicks, and he goes and gets a couple and ones in a row.
Mhm.
And he can take over a game, but I also I don't know if it's what it is about Tatum. I feel like he tries to get teammates involved a little bit too much sometimes,
Yeah.
and because he knows he has 5 other all-stars on his team,
Yeah,
but
there's something
sometimes
about,
you
like
just got to be that star and just go
yeah,
dominate.
I was just gonna say, sometimes you gotta be selfish, right? Like, you
Mhm,
gotta be that selfish player. We see players do it all the time, right? Like, we s like, I don't mean to always go back to this person because this is kind of a almost terrible example, but, like, you see LeBron
mhm,
do that all the time, right? Like,
mhm,
when everyone else is fucking up, screwing up, take over.
mhm.
Like, have it's almost like he's lacking, like, that confidence that he
Yeah,
can do that, right? Like, but when we see that confidence come, we're
mhm,
like, "Fuck, man.
yeah,
He looks like top 5 player in the
mhm,
league."
yeah,
But, yeah, I agree with you. I think Jaylen Brown is a very, very solid number 2, and Tatum is still number 1, but you gotta ask the question, you
yeah.
know?
It's close. You get moments like Tatum, Game 5 in the finals, looked like
Yep.
superstar top 3 player, and
Yeah.
then against the Pacers in that overtime game when he hits that,
Yeah.
that dagger 3,
Yep.
like, you get moments like that where you're like, "Yep, he's him," but everyone just hates him because he's on the Celtics. He wouldn't get as much hate if he wasn't, but
Do you think Tatum put yourself in Tatum's shoes, do you think he is mentally hurt from not getting Finals MVP?
I think a little bit. I think it's safe to say, I think he was happy that Brown won it, but there's that look on his face where he's like, Man, like, they're, what they're gonna say now.
Yeah,
In the back of his mind, he's like, everyone's about to come after me. Like, how can you be the
yeah,
star on your team and not win the Finals MVP? So I think there's a little mental blockade there, but also I think winning the title gets him over that hump that they've been behind for so long. And I think he's a mentally tough guy. There hasn't really been anything that shows me he's not mentally
yeah.
tough, but I don't know. I think it might even make him hungrier next year to go out and prove it.
I listen to Bill Simmons' podcast a lot, and, that's something he mentioned. He said, "I think him not winning the Finals MVP honestly might be the best thing for him."
Mhm.
We talked about dynasty. That might be what the Celtics needed,
Yeah.
is him not getting the Finals MVP and not getting that satisfaction, right? Because we see, like, almost sometimes when a team does win the finals, I don't wanna say they go on cruise control, but they almost have this sort of satisfaction, like, "We've done it
Mhm.
now." You almost have to find ways to continue to get hungry.
Mhm.
Like, you gotta, like, oh, like, they still don't believe in this, right? Tatum, they still don't believe in you, which is good. I think that's
Yep.
gonna be really good for his mental psyche and his motivation on wanting to just play out of his mind. So I think that'll be good. But I think there, like you said, I think a comparison, an analogy I think that's somewhat good is it's like when you and your friend like the same girl and your friend gets the girl over
Mhm.
you, right? Like, you're happy for him, but there's that little part of you that's
Uh,
like, "Fuck you."
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's what this reminds me of between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Alright. Do you think players like Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White have all proved their worth?
I'm gonna say absolutely for Drew Holiday and Derek White. I think they definitely prove what they're capable of. Derek White shooting, defense, point guard ability, and then Drew Holiday, man. When you need a defensive stop, he is
Yeah,
that guy. And he proved that in the Pacers series. He proved that in the finals. And he actually, he'll have a stinker game on offense every once in a while. He does it every year. But games 1 and game 5, he put over 20 points. So he has
yeah,
that capability, when everyone else is struggling, he can light a little bit of a fire. Drew Holiday is that teammate first kind of guy, like
yeah.
you want on your team. So absolutely. At first, when we extended him, I was like, I don't know about that. That's a lot of money for a guy that might only give you a couple years. But after this playoff performance, he absolutely deserves it.
Yeah.
I think Derek White, you know, he was okay on the Spurs, but the way he's developed for the Celtics, as soon as he got rid of his hair, became an absolute animal this year, and he's just
Looking
peaking
like
too.
Schmeagol.
Yeah,
Peak Schmeagol right now.
yeah. And then Kristaps, I mean, obviously he's a great player, but the injuries are always a concern, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
sweet, he made it through the regular season fully healthy. He did it. He
Yeah.
was a 20-point per game scorer, and then he gets hurt in the Heat series, and you go out and you dominate without him with all your other stars.
Yeah.
And then he comes back, game one of the finals, incredible, 15 points in like 6 minutes, it felt like, or whatever. He scored ridiculous, ended with 20 points. Then game two, he gets hurt again. Everyone's like, oh, the Mavs got him now because Kristaps is gone. Nope, your guys go out and do what they need to do. He didn't even play a big part in game five. So
No, he only put
obviously,
up 5 points.
yeah,
Yeah.
obviously he's under contract for the next 2 years or through 2027. So he's a
Yeah.
good piece. But I don't know if there's a guy that you don't maybe need. Maybe it's Kristaps if you need cap space or if you
Interesting.
can get someone else. But I mean,
Interesting take.
he deserves like Kristaps. I love Kristaps, but
Yeah.
out of those three, comparatively, the other two definitely earned it more,
Yeah.
deserved it more. The Celtics are capable of winning without Kristaps, even though I absolutely love to keep him. What other
Yeah.
7-footer can play defense and spread the floor and be quick like he can when he's fully
Yeah.
healthy?
Yeah. No, it's just interesting. The reason why I say it's an interesting take, just because how dynamic that offense is when he is in. I think going forward, they will need him to stay
Yeah.
healthy
Mhm.
against those Nuggets,
Yep.
against those Bucks, right? Because the Celtics were able to pull away with wins, and I still I don't want to say it was all because of their defense, but there it was, you know,
Yep.
their defense was pretty damn good, and I think offensively, Kristaps can really just provide that
Mhm.
dynamicness that I guess they weren't missing, but you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. So, um, but yeah, no, it's interesting. I also think it's funny because regular season, right? Drew Holiday, people were like, "Oh, I don't know about Drew
Mhm.
Holiday. Like he's just kind of all right, right?" And where is that now?
Yep.
I mean, the guy is just
Exactly.
to me, he's a postseason guy,
Mhm.
right? Like he's just that guy you want. He will step up when you need him to step up. So, do you think I put this on my story for logical nonsense.
Mhm.
Do you think Drew Holiday is a Hall of Famer?
I love this comparison. I've seen the side by side with Kyrie and his resume or
Mhm.
whatever. I think guys have gotten the Hall of Fame for less than Drew Holiday has, and I think everyone's just going to look at the stats, right? But if you
Yeah.
truly are a basketball guru and you know the impact that he has on a team,
Facts.
he's definitely a Hall of Famer. 6-time
Yeah.
defensive, 3 on the first team, 3 on the second team, 2
Yeah.
NBA All Stars, 2 NBA championships. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, and he's going to add on to that for the next couple of years. So I already
Yeah.
think he is, and I think he'll extend that.
I love this comment today.
Mhm.
I saw Drew Holiday is what Patrick Beverly wanted to be. And I could
Yeah.
not agree more. Um, so there is a little laugh for you on Drew Holiday. All right, let's go to flipping or wait, yeah, sorry. No, flipping to the Mavs.
Mhm.
Luka was somewhat inconsistent this offseason or postseason, right? Like
Mhm.
we saw him go through phases where like, holy shit, this guy is him.
Mhm.
And then we saw some phases where like, what was that?
Mhm.
Right? So, what do you think that does to Luka's image, right? Because I think we always saw him as this guy, as the guy with big potential,
Mhm.
but could never get it to the end.
Mhm.
What do you think this inconsistency shows about Luka?
I think he needs to work on his free throws. That's gonna be the
Yeah.
first thing. I did a lot of games lost on free throws. He missed. He's not a good shooter. I think he needs to work on that first and foremost. But I also think that Luka's teammates throughout the western side of the bracket, they were able to make shots. They were able to execute. He looked like a great playmaker and stuff. And then the finals, they couldn't hit a shot.
That's
So
fair.
then it felt like Luka was trying to, take over a little
Do
bit in
too
the finals, a
much.
little bit too much, forced a little bit too much,
Force.
but his
Yeah.
teammates weren't making shots either. So it's hard to kind of discredit him a little bit on that end. Play style, I don't really want to discredit him at all because I still think he should have been,
Yeah.
MVP this year. And I think he got snubbed in my opinion. But
I do too.
you
I
get
do
to the
too.
playoffs, man, Kyrie's not helping him in the first 2 games. You know, Tim Hardaway Jr. who was their key player, 3-man this year, couldn't hit a
Yeah.
shot in the playoffs, didn't even get minutes. PJ Washington had a not good finals after playing good all the rest of the postseason.
I was gonna
So
say,
I don't think you can discredit Luka's play. He had a rough time from 3. In games 4, he was 0 for 8. In game 5, he was 0 for 6.
yeah,
But he's also, getting hounded by 3 all-star Celtics the whole
true,
finals too, which
true.
is tough. I think as far as Luka's image, the thing I didn't like about it was his complaining in the finals every
Yeah,
time on both ends of the floor,
yeah. He
bitching at
fouled
the
out
ref,
a game, right?
screaming at the ref. He's fouled out because he couldn't move his feet, and he's
Yep.
screaming at the coach to challenge the call, and he's screaming at the ref in Slovenian instead of getting back on defense half the game. And like I don't know, any of the superstars like LeBron when before the last couple of years,
Yeah,
Kobe his whole career, Steph Curry his whole career, they don't complain about calls every single time, here and
yeah,
there. But it's hard to like a guy. And I love Luka, but it was getting annoying to watch him complain after every single play in these finals.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point. I also think it was so interesting about the Mavs and like all playoffs long. All we talked about was their chemistry and how good it was, and how
Yep.
we didn't see this coming. How they looked so cohesive as a team. And then, like, the finals, it was like everything was out the window. Like, it was just like the wheels fell off the bus. I don't know what happened, but to your point, I think Luka definitely started forcing things, and it didn't even look like his game, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
it just felt like he was just jacking up shots to jack
Yeah.
up shots. Like, he wasn't getting to his spots the way he
Mm-hmm.
usually does. The threes he were taking, I wasn't used to seeing him
Yeah.
take, and you could see it through his efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a learning moment for Luka too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
going into next year, I think he just uses it as fuel. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is his first finals he's been to.
Yep.
It's a different road. Like, that is a
Mm-hmm.
long road. Like, you think about the NBA championship and getting there, you got to play your first round, your conference semis, your conference finals, and these can be up to
Yep.
7-game series, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're in a competitive West too. So, like, it was not an easy road to
Mm-hmm.
get there, and then you face the most dominant team
Yep.
in basketball, and your team doesn't support you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's just gonna
Yep.
learn from this,
Yep.
and so is the Mavs.
Mm-hmm. I think he got gassed in a lot of games too. A lot of the first
Yeah.
quarters, second quarters, he's putting up 20 points in the
Yeah, I
first
noticed
15.
that.
He
I noticed
gets to
that.
his spot, he hits his
It's
pump
almost like
fake,
he
and
didn't
then
pace himself.
he goes all out, and he gets tired, and then they starts getting blitzed. Because Brown conditioned amazingly. He can play that defense the whole game.
Yeah.
Luka gets tired, leads to the stupid fouls, leads to him being short on his shots because most of his bag is a fadeaway in the
Yeah.
midi, and he gets tired and he can't consistently get his legs under him.
Yeah.
So I think, I
That's a good
think
point.
he'll get in the off season. I think he'll, maybe lose a couple pounds, maybe condition himself because the Mavs will be back in this position in the next couple of years, easy. At least, conference semifinals, conference finals. They're that
Yeah.
good. And also, they were pretty young this year too, right? A lot of their
Yeah.
guys were super
Yeah,
young.
yeah.
Just
They're,
it's a
role
big
players were
spotlight to
too.
be in, right?
Yeah.
Like Hardy, and it's hard.
Yeah,
Green.
I'm curious how many guys on that roster had actually ever been to a finals before. And my guess, and I don't want to just put this out there, my guess is only Kyrie.
I know. I'm trying to think. I don't know if Tim Hardaway ever was
I
on
don't
one
think
on the
Tim
bench. I
Hardaway
don't.
has
Yeah,
either.
I think it's
And most
sleeping.
of the other ones are young. So
Yeah.
I would venture to guess that is most of their first finals,
Mhm.
which is
Yep.
pretty tough, right? Whereas the Celtics, they've been there before.
Mhm.
They've been on plenty of playoff runs too. So could just be their first one.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'll be interested to see kind of again, kind of a I don't know what you want, a right turn,
Mhm.
just picking my brain.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see how the Olympics affects things in terms of conditioning as
Mhm.
well as injuries. What do you think?
I know. I haven't even thought about the Olympics that much, right? Because now, all these guys who just played in the finals
Yeah.
are going
Well,
to
and I
play in
mean, it's
that
like
and
in a
in the
month
playoffs.
too,
Yeah, yep. So,
and they got to start training for it.
yeah, for
So
that. So, no breaks. It's a good point. I think it'll be good for him though in the long run, actually,
yeah,
especially for Luka, because then
Yeah.
you'll do that. We'll come back, have a couple of months off, and then it's back into the season again, right? Back into
Yeah.
preseason. So
Yeah,
I think
maybe it'll keep him in shape.
I think it'll be good.
So it's interesting because, like, I think you look at a guy like Anthony Edwards, and I think, like,
Mhm,
when they did the FIBA Bowl, I think it was last year, like, that's where he
mhm.
kinda made some
Yeah.
noise, man. Like, that's where we were like, "This
Oh,
guy's got
him.
some fucking
Mhm,
shit on him." So, I think it can really either elevate your game or you can
mhm.
start to feel some wear and tear
Yeah.
depending on your age and your body, but
Mhm,
yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting to
mhm,
see, like, how the NBA is affected by
yeah.
the Olympics this year because a lot of players are playing from the US
Mhm.
and Canada and all these teams, so I'm very excited. Who do you think will win? You think US got it?
I think so. I think, this is the first time in 2 Olympics where they're like,
Yeah.
"All right, we're going back and, like, we've got absolutely shit on the
Yeah.
last 2 Olympics, embarrassed our country, like, we got all our stars now, we're not playing off of bench players and role players
Yeah.
and all this, we got superstars, and we're gonna go dominate." I like Team Canada too. They're gonna
Yeah.
be good.
With
Shea is
Shea,
gonna
yeah.
pop.
I think
All the
France is gonna be a
Yep,
tough team.
European team, Serbia is always good, France is always good.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to watch actually, and they
Yeah.
play FIBA rules too, so Wembanyama's allowed to goaltend off the rim every play if he wants to. That'll
That's
be interesting.
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Who do you think the star on our team is gonna be? Because there's always a guy
Um,
it's always a guy, like, you don't think well, not
yeah,
always, I guess, but, like, yeah, who do you think is our go-to guy?
just go with my
I'm gonna
Celtic
guess.
boys.
I I think it's Anthony Edwards.
I do. Oh, Ant's gonna be so fun to watch,
I think it's
especially
gonna
when
be
it's like
Ant.
I don't know, there's stuff to play for, but it's not like clutch postseason play. Like
Yeah.
it's a little bit more loose, and that's where he thrives on. We can just go out and just
Yes.
have his game and dominate. He'll be fun to watch. Like Luka
Yeah.
will be fun to watch too.
Yeah.
But well, Joel Embiid, we'll see how he plays. That he elected
Yeah,
to
we'll
play
have
with
to
Team
cover that.
USA.
Do you think the Mavs run it back, or do you think they're gonna go and try to get some more guys,
Mm.
more
I
assets?
think I think they're due for one more player. I
Yeah.
think they're missing another key piece, especially they have some young guys. I like Green, Hardy,
Yeah.
Lively. I like those guys, but you have an aging Tim Hardaway Jr. who struggled in the postseason. I think they're going to try
Yeah.
to move off him. I think they're going to move off Maxi Kleber, who didn't play very good at all this season, one of his like career lows. I think those are two guys they're going to try to move off of. And I think just a nice, solid role player, guy that has a couple years experience
Yeah.
is something they don't need a star. I
Yeah.
think Luka and Kyrie definitely can run it back, but just another like a Drew Holiday kind of player, like a teammate first kind of guy. Like one guy I looked at and he just said that maybe he doesn't want to play in the Knicks anymore is OG Anunoby. Some guy
Mhm.
like that, man, that can
Yeah.
play great defense, score when needed, assist first kind of guy. I think they're one piece away though. I think they have the pieces and now they have the experience, but I think they're just one slightly, you know, role player away
Yeah.
from being there.
Yeah, I was trying to look at, some free agents they could possibly pick up. Um, it's not that stacked this year,
No.
really. It's pretty weak, honestly. DeMar DeRozan,
Nice.
Andre Drummond. I mean, it's nothing.
Mm, that'd be different.
Yeah, they're probably gonna have if they want somebody, they're probably gonna go have to trade for him. I'd like to see him get another big man. Like,
Mhm.
I know Kristaps didn't really work out in Dallas, but I think that was for different reasons,
Uh,
like injuries and stuff like that.
mm,
But I think go get a stretch four. I
mm,
think that would be perfect because I actually like Lively. To your point,
mhm.
I even like Gafford.
Yeah.
But I think having a good stretch four would be really nice. Trying to think of good stretch fours right
Yeah.
now in the game.
No. If Pascal didn't just sign that absolute bag with the Pacers, like a player
Yeah, I
like
know.
Pascal would be dirty. Player
Yeah,
like
Pascal would be
Miles
good.
Turner might be a good pickup, a five that can stretch the floor.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. No, it'd be interesting. I think they need another vet,
Mhm.
because like they are so young.
Yep.
They might need another guy who can like anchor them and be that Al Horford or
Mhm.
be etc. for them. Because
Um, but
like I just said, Kyrie. was like the only guy on that team that had been to the finals.
But what about Jimmy Buckets? You know, he might not be on the Heat or want to be on the Heat anymore. Would you want to go for a? You know, he's older, he's getting up there, but would you try to put all the chips on the table and get Jimmy Butler?
That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like. Do you think that team would work?
I don't know.
Between Kyrie,
It's
Jimmy,
hard
and
because we've seen Jimmy on a 3-star roster before, and it didn't work out with the
that's
Sixers.
that's why I'm
It feels like
concerned.
he just needs a 1-2 punch, but also the Heat haven't really given him much support, and they've still made
True.
it far with just him and Bam. They gave him like old Kyle Lowry, and like that's basically it. And they pick up all these guys off the street and turn them into
And what about
stars
Kyle Lowry?
from the
Maybe they
Heat.
should go get him. Winning recipe right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, but
I don't know. That one's tough. I don't know if I'd want Jimmy or
yeah,
not.
it feels like
That's a
a
good
weird
question.
fit. I don't see Jimmy in the Mavs.
No.
Jersey just feels weird, but
No. That's interesting. What if the Lakers break up? What if they go get AD?
that would be crazy. That would be if they could,
I mean, it doesn't make
absolutely. But
sense because they
no,
just re-signed JJ
but
Redick, but
yeah,
halfway through the season,
yeah, falling
they were
apart.
losing. They're like, all right, we're done with this. LeBron's retiring at the end of the
Mm.
year. Go trade AD and get some draft picks back.
If you could, absolutely, but it won't.
Yeah.
Sadly, they could maybe get DeRozan for a rental year or Zach LaVine for a year because the Bulls are blowing it up.
Yeah, they are.
Vucevic, he's older. So you wanted a big guy that can shoot a little bit.
Yeah, they did. Speaking of the Bulls, I mean, they just traded Caruso for Giddey. What do you think of that one?
I think the Thunder made an absolute steal with that one. I think
Yeah.
Caruso is a way better player than Giddey,
Yeah.
and we saw that in the playoffs. Like it sucks because he's young, right, and he's his first playoff run, but he
Yeah.
has baggage as well. And Caruso
Yeah.
has been to the playoffs before, and he's an offensive scorer that they need and plays tough defense. So I like it a
Yeah.
lot for the Thunder. I think that's
Yeah.
exactly what we were talking about. What they needed, just another not star, just another good
Yep.
piece.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think now they got it.
Yeah, definitely. I liked it too. I liked it a lot too. I think Caruso will be a nice guy on there. Whether he starts or not,
Mhm.
I guess he could. But whether he starts or come off the bench, I think either way he'll do fine for him. So all right. What are you more looking forward to? Final question: free agency or the draft?
I think
They're
it's a
both kind of
down
weak.
year for both, man.
Yeah.
Like the draft, like no one's even talking about like the top guys. Like last year Wembanyama was talked about for 3 years. It felt
Yeah.
like before he got drafted, and now they got another guy from France, Alex Sarr, who probably
Yep.
goes number one. But like, if there ever was a year to not get the number one overall pick, and you're okay with
It's
it,
this
this would
year.
have been the year. Yeah, but
Yeah.
these guys can come out and prove them wrong. Most of them, like I think it was 50% are overseas. It felt like projected first rounders this year.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
got some good. I think you got some good guards like from Kentucky, like Rob
Yep.
Dillingham and Reed Shepard. Those guys are
Yep.
good. I think they'd be a good steal. Around pick 14, 15 if you get Reed Shepard that late. Kentucky always produces good guards, but besides that, it felt like a lot of the big college stars elected to stay another year. They're like NIL, get some
Yeah.
more money. I don't know. I like Klinghagen a lot from UConn. I think
Yep.
whoever gets him, I think he'll go probably 2 or 3. I think he'll be a
Yeah.
great pickup. But I'm more excited for free agency. I'm excited to see, like we said, what does Jimmy Butler do? Does he opt out? Does he ask for a trade?
Yeah.
Where does Paul George go? Does he run it back with the
That's a
Sixers?
good. That's a
That
good
was the
one.
big one. Does he run it back with the Clippers? Does he go to the Sixers?
Is he a guy that could go to the
Uh,
Mavs?
I don't know.
There's
I don't think Paul George is that good anymore. I'm gonna be honest. Not playoff P.
yeah.
He's not that guy anymore. But if Bulls are blowing it up, those are guys you could get in free agency. Who else is there? Klay Thompson. Does he go to the Warriors even though he deleted all his posts with them? Does he go to Orlando? Does he go to Detroit? Tobias Harris should go to Detroit because that's where he belongs. Oh. I don't know. There's
Yeah,
some
dude,
good
Tobias
free
Harris.
agents,
Oh
but
my
there's
god.
there's not like a big star besides Paul George, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I'm
Yeah.
more excited for free agency though. It's always a fun time.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also think, like, there's always trades that happen during free agency that just make it crazy, so
Mhm,
I'll go with free agency as well, but I do think I think there's gonna be some guys that make some surprises in the
mhm,
draft. I think there's 3 guys that if I was a team, I had a pick, and I could trade down. I don't know if you can trade down for Klingon, but I like Klingon,
mhm,
I like Jared McCain,
mhm.
and I like, Dalton Connect.
Yep.
Or yeah.
Yeah,
Those
connect.
are the 3 guys I really like in this
Mhm,
draft. I think they all can be very versatile players for teams,
yep,
so those are my 3 guys that I would
mhm.
get in the
Yeah,
draft.
connect's like 17 or something
I
crazy on a
know,
lot of the boards,
I
like,
know.
and I
Did no one watch him play?
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's a crazy thing too, I think he has NBA style. I
mhm.
think it's his defense,
No
maybe,
no one plays defense till the playoffs, so,
but that's the only thing I can think of
no,
because he is a shooter.
mhm,
I mean, that man can score anywhere, so he's gonna be successful.
yeah,
I mean,
I think,
people
yeah,
Devin Booker was another guy that kinda
mhm,
I mean, he didn't even start, but
yeah,
I don't wanna say it's similar style, but he reminds me in ways of Devin Booker, and I think it's gonna be
mhm,
the same thing.
yeah. Yeah, I think if there's a year for teams that don't have first rounders to try to trade back and maybe pick one
Yeah,
up for the future, this would be the year to do it. Like the
yeah,
Suns, the Bucks, the Lakers,
yeah,
they won't. Yeah, they don't have money first. So I don't know. I hope that there's a guy that comes out. It's like fifth pick or sixth pick. That everyone's like, he'll be a bust. That just plays amazing. I
yeah,
hope. I hope there's that talent, but
yeah,
we'll see.
yeah. Alright, buddy, any last things you wanna talk about?
Tatum gets a lot of hate, and I saw this graphic too, where it's like players that are 26 years or younger that have their first title. LeBron didn't have one yet. Jordan didn't have one yet. Magic didn't have one yet. So I think he's getting a lot of unnecessary hate for he's won a title younger than a lot of these other superstars, and like people weren't being like, oh, LeBron sucks. When he was 26 years old, he didn't have a title yet, or MJ who lost in the first round of his like first
Yeah,
5 years in the playoffs. So, what do you think about that? Like,
that's a good one.
the only thing I think you could argue about is the players around him. Like Tatum's always
Mm,
had great players around him his whole career,
true.
pretty much, and they almost made it to the Eastern Conference final or the finals his first year. They were up 3-2 in that Eastern Conference Finals 2018. But I don't know, like LeBron didn't really have players around him for the longest
LeBron
time.
didn't, Jordan
Yeah,
didn't.
Jordan, yeah, they're all young. So like that's the only point you can make is that Tatum's had the guys around him. But I still think it's interesting. Like he's still young in the league. He gets a lot of hate. Like they
I
expect him
swear
to already
he's
have
been, like
3 rings
I swear he's been,
at
like, under
26.
26 for, like,
I know.
18 years,
He's
dude. It
still,
feels like it,
yeah,
like,
I know.
the fact that he's only 26 is still
I know.
crazy to
And
me,
like
but,
Luka, right? Like Luka, he's younger than Tatum, and people are already being like, "Oh, he already lost a final. Like this is the only chance." Like, come on, they'll get there again too.
yeah,
Luka will get one.
yeah. Luka will definitely get one. Um, no, it's a good point. I think we always have to take that step back and realize, like, when we are giving players hate, like, dude, some of the greats didn't even get theirs until a long time later, regardless of the sport, right? Like, there's players in football who didn't get theirs who we still consider great. Think about how long it took Peyton Manning. Like, it was what, 2007? He entered the league in 1999. Like, it takes players a long time to develop and have that maturity. I talked about Luka and not having that, forcing things, doing that. Like, think about how many playoff runs Tatum had to go through before he finally got
Yeah.
one. But that's the thing also that I was gonna say, actually, about the difference between Jordan and um, LeBron. Like, it was so evident that, like, they didn't have support and they didn't have these big long runs where we just watched him. We
Yeah.
watched Tatum, like, get so close almost and
Mhm.
then fail that, like, we didn't believe in him anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't like, it was never close with Jordan or
Mhm.
LeBron to get there.
Yeah.
Whereas with Tatum and Brown, like, we saw them, God, you made it finals. God, you lost the Heat in the, conference finals. Like,
Mhm.
we saw them that many times. I don't know. I guess Jordan lost with bad boy Pistons, but
Mhm.
whatever.
Yep.
I don't know how old he was, so I think that is a great point on your end for sure. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Congrats, buddy. You have
Thank
a
you.
title.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to wait for the Cowboys anymore.
Thank
And
all my other teams are gonna win one before the team I want to win one the most gets one.
Yep. So congrats on getting a title, and we'll be catching up soon.
Sir. Yep. Thank you for having me. Always a good time.
Yes, sir. All right.